In this episode,
what should a backpack gun be? You know, should it be a Flux Raider? Should it be a sub gun like a MP5? Should it be a, you know, one of those, I don't know, take down 300 blackout ARs, you know?
The right answer is a TP9. That is the correct answer.
Okay, brass tacks.
A TP9 with multiple companies hopefully racing to a finish line here before the end of next month with an FRT solution.
Oh my
for
goodness.
It, so.
in an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Live, Laugh, LARP podcast. We have took a little bit of a hiatus for the month of July. Just a whole bunch of scheduling stuff and all of that jazz. But needless to say, I'm glad that we're back at it. And I'm glad that you guys are here along for the ride as well. This time, Jefe is not going to be able to join us, but I believe he will be on the next one. And we got a really cool guest on the next one as well, but we have a returning guest, which is always awesome. We had a pretty good discussion last time, and we're going to get into some more stuff based off of our last discussion, kind of snowball off of that. Anyway, with that being said, we need to take a second and say a huge thank you to our title sponsor, which is XS Sights. You guys know that. And if you guys are interested in a sighting solution for your Glocks, your VP9s, your MP5s, your AKs, your ARs, they probably have something for you over on XS Sights. Swing by, check them out. Use code LARP, L-A-R-P, at checkout. That gets you 20% off of everything. I don't get a commission off that. I don't get any type of kickback. It is just a thank you to you guys for listening to the show using the code. All right, so thanks again to XS Sights. Really, really do appreciate them and looking forward to them. I know it's July, almost August. Well, as you guys are listening to it, it is August. But SHOT Show is going to be just around the corner. It's going to be here before I know it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing those folks over at XS Sights and saying hi and all that type of jazz. So with that being said, as mentioned, we do have a returning guest. We've got Safe Queen Gary back. How's it going, dude?
It's going great. Appreciate you having me back.
No, it's always good. So he's local to me, and we spend a lot of time together. We do like dinner every week.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, we've got a schedule.
Yeah. So we're going out to dinner, and it's a lot of fun because we pretty much have a podcast episode every time we are around each other, I think. So.
Yeah, I think most of probably the best stuff is at dinner and doesn't probably make it to a podcast.
No, it doesn't. No, it really doesn't. Maybe for the best. But naturally, I wanted to have Gary back on, and then B, kind of build off of our first podcast and talk about some of the things that we didn't get a chance to really dive into on the last episode. So again, just real quick for people who may have not caught the first episode, tell us who you are and what you do, whatever.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy who is a firearms enthusiast. I was really into firearms as soon as I was able to own one. My first pistol was a Walther P99. And as soon as I was able to own an AR, I bought a Bushmaster AR-15, and those were my first two firearms. But from there, had a roommate at the time who his first pistol was a Beretta 92 FS, and his first rifle was a Norinco underfolder AK-47.
Nice.
And between the two of us, we just kind of began, trying to fulfill our firearms interests through there. Joined the military, and that kind of fulfilled a lot of my firearm needs and time, and kind of stepped away from that. And when I left the military, I kind of got back into it, and picked right back up where I left off, and wanted to begin to get into as many different types of firearms and as many different types of calibers as possible, and kind of fell into that trap.
Yep.
And that's kind of why I took on the nomenclature of Safe Queen Gary, which was I realized that I began acquiring firearms for the purpose of acquiring them and checking boxes, as opposed to necessarily practically using them. And that's okay. And I in some ways I kind of own that, but at the same time, I also do want to get out there and shoot them. I do want to get out there, and you see some of these firearms on Instagram and things like that, like HK, whether it's MR762, MR556s, whether it's B&Ts and things like that. Like, I don't actually want to be a Safe Queen Gary. Like, I want to go out there and use them, and I want to go out there and shoot them. Yep. And for me, sometimes it's just like it's more about a limitation of time than anything. Yeah. And so, when I talk to people about that, I think it's an opportunity to kind of expose maybe some people to the realities of why sometimes there's firearm owners that's the reason why they might be a Safe Queen kind of person, rather than just be a FUD or be somebody that's scared to get a firearm scratched or things like that.
Yep. And that was my dad. My dad was the epitome of Safe Queen Gary. We use the generic term, the small,
small G.
Because he was around firearms most of his life, and in the 80s actually had an FFL, and he saw it as more of like an investment than anything. So to this day I've got so I have all of my father's firearms right now, and I still need to divvy things up between my brother and I, but he's got a Springfield M1A, aka the M14, that has never been shot. There's a Norinco AK that has never been shot, and several other firearms that has never even been touched. Hasn't seen the light of day probably in a couple of decades. So I get it.
Yep.
But I will tell you that when I was growing up, I made a promise to myself. Once I really started to grasp the idea that, I'm at an age now that I can go out and buy whatever firearm I want, I decided that I wasn't going to do what my dad did. If I have a firearm, I'm going to shoot it. Now, here I am, fast forward, I'm on the bad side of 45, and there's a couple firearms that I now own I don't ever want to shoot, I'm like, one of them is the AK. It's my dad's AK. It's never been shot. Why shoot it now?
Yeah.
And I got a lot of hate on that video. A lot of people were like, well, why would you buy a Ferrari if you're never going to drive it? I was like, well, that AK is far from a Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, there's always special circumstance. And, also the other aspect to this is like I am 1,000% the type of person that is never going to tell anybody what to do with their money or with their property. But I'm happy to share my kind of philosophy and how I've progressed through and changed over the years. But there's definitely things where you have to be practical about it. Right. And so, especially when it comes to firearms, because you can replicate the experience and what you're going to get out of certain firearms. And so why, if you've got something that's really special to you, why put that wear and tear on that when you can have another AK that can serve that exact same purpose and function, especially when it's got sentimental value, especially when it's got, it's been passed down through the family. So that's completely makes sense to me. Right. Yeah. I think, where it gets into, like something that I see you do and something that I see a lot of other people do that I still struggle with, which is somebody will acquire a firearm, experience it, get use out of it, and then pass it on to somebody else, right? Trade it in, sell it, get the new one, experience that. And so that's still something that, I'm still getting used to, as opposed to just like acquire and hold and use and acquire and hold and use. And so, and like I said, I don't know that either of those are probably better. I think a lot of it just comes down to how much are you capable or willing to financially put into those things. There are certainly investment grade firearms.
Oh, absolutely.
There are certainly other firearms that are not investments. I think all firearms, to some degree or another, are a store of value. They hold value to some degree or another, but not all firearms are investment grade firearms. So, but it's been cool, and it's been cool to get to know you and to learn things about firearms that I'm not interested in. It's always a very dangerous thing. Sometimes my inexperience in firearms is what keeps me from purchasing them. So some of the surplus stuff that you're into that I don't know a lot about has been really cool to learn about.
And that's a piece of it that has been quite a fun ride as well, is because realistically, if we're going to look behind the curtain, look at the man behind the curtain, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know, right? A great example is, you were with me when I picked up that Yugoslavian M48 Mauser, and cool rifle. I have yet to shoot it. I still want to shoot it. I'm looking at a stripper clip with 5 rounds, and I want to get it out. I want to shoot it, but I have a literally a box full of ammo that was given to me with it. But researching the head stamp on that, it's Turkish surplus ammo, which is corrosive, which means that the guy that I got it from probably shot some of it, which means he more than likely didn't know that it was corrosive, which now makes me a little timid about taking it out and shooting. And I still need to tear it apart and look inside, make sure it's all good to go. It's not, barrel's not pitted or whatever the case may be. So, so that is just an illustration as to some of the things that you get into with these milsurp weapons, and you don't know the full history behind it. There could be a lot of issues just lurking underneath the surface, that could come and bite you. But so far I've had pretty good luck, and that kind of ties into the video I just did on that LEO trade-in Ruger Mini 14. We see that right now Mini 14s are just blowing up across social media, and I don't know why. What do you think?
I've got a couple theories. I think one is we're in the golden age of firearms. I think also firearm content in social media on YouTube and things is maturing.
Yeah.
And so you've seen the progression of AR content. I think you've also seen, and I think you can speak to this obviously better than I can, but you've seen the maturity of AK content, and you've seen content creators move on to other platforms like maybe HK platforms, but even that's limited, right? And so maybe this is just the next progression of, hey, here's something that's abundant, that is well known, is well understood, is relatively, especially if you look at the rising costs of AKs, relatively inexpensive. Shoots 5.56, shoots 7.62. And has some lineage to it.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can find law enforcement examples, has military lineage, is available in wooden stocks, available in polymer stock. And then, maybe a topic that we'll have time to get into, also is kind of retro rifle adjacent, has pop culture connections with the A-Team.
Oh yeah.
And, in the late 70s was available as a fully automatic weapon. And so it's kind of been prime. It has to shake off some of the FUD connotation.
Oh yeah.
It has to shake off some of the, these are really inaccurate weapons, which again are kind of, like it's got to shake off a little bit of the AK, like, oh, these aren't really accurate, which is, not by any standard really necessarily true. And the same goes for Mini 14s, I think. And I think what some people have stumbled across, which even really surprises me, is they appear to be pretty versatile when it comes to the ability to cut them down.
Yeah.
And it's not something that, and I think that that's probably helped rejuvenate them as well, is the changes in the laws that have really started to get people to look at firearms through a different lens when it comes to SBRs. And so I think it's just kind of a culmination of people looking to move to a different platform, and then looking through it through the lens of all those things. And it's like, man, it's been right in front of us the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the interesting things too, is because you bring up the FUD lore about the accuracy, and I'm tied in very closely with my buddy Kyle, who's also known as Bolts and Holes, and he and I have been going back and forth on Instagram about the Mini 14s, and he is like complete anti Mini 14. Not that he is like, not that he wouldn't trash anybody who gets one, right? He just doesn't like the platform itself, right? So he fully believes that they're not accurate, that they have reliability issues, which is true. That both of those are true. I mean, depending on what your definition of accuracy is, and that's actually a really important question too. Is what is the definition of accuracy? Is it sub MOA? Is it 1 MOA? Is it 2 MOA? I mean, the rumor is that, the M16 M4 is a 4 MOA rifle,
Yeah. Well, there's a 2-hour discussion in and of itself in terms of what's, so my quick spiel there is, number one is, I think the capabilities of both the shooter and the firearm of sub MOA accuracy is grossly overstated.
Correct.
I also think that the realities of what I would call functional accuracy is a much larger envelope than most people would recognize. And from the military application, like, you really are looking at a 3 to 4 MOA firearm, depending on application. And there's certainly, again, that's where I talked about with the Mini 14, all that is incredibly well documented, down to the serial number, and it doesn't take much research to look into, if you look at, hey, I want to get into a Mini 14, it's like, hey, just look for one that has a serial number that starts with 580. After that, most of those problems that you just spoke about, you don't have to worry about. Yep. The accuracy problems have been resolved. The reliability problems have been resolved, and you're good to go. And so obviously, if that's so well known, then there's truth to the accuracy challenges. And from there, from what I've been told and what I, just kind of have in my headspace is, you could be talking 5 to 7 MOA, which I would say is not functional for any real purpose outside. I mean, but again, if you're going to chop it down to, a 13-inch barrel and shoot trash, then exactly. 7 MOA is fine.
Yeah. And man, I was watching a YouTube video that they were talking about accuracy. No, it wasn't accuracy. They were talking about it was a reel that my buddy sent me. And this guy was basically arguing that LPVOs are no longer an issue. Or not an issue. LPVOs are no longer in. They're on their way out. And the reason why they're on their way out is because of these criteria. And he was looking at it from like a competition standpoint. The majority of the matches that you will go to, the furthest that you will shoot is maybe 200 yards for the most of them. Now, I go to a match on a regular basis that we will have a 250 to 300 yard shot, guaranteed, every match. But that's just one stage. The other 4 stages are 25 yards are in, maybe 100 yards on one other stage. So his point was, why do you need an LPVO if you're going to add weight and add parallax issues? You're going to run into issues with, making sure that the optic is mounted correctly, that it's level, all of these different intricacies that you have to take special account for in LPVOs, MPVOs, HPVOs. And then you get into, well, if you're only going to shoot, 100 yards, 150 yards, do you really need it? If you look at combat engagements from 1940s to present day, the average engagement distance is 70 yards. So is it really needed? And I've been in competitions where with a red dot, I have gone out to 600 yards.
Yeah.
So, those are a lot of different factors that people need to consider when putting their rifle together. Now, I'm the type of person, it's like, hey, you want to run an LPVO? Do it. I don't care. Just make sure you get to the gym because you're going to be, the thing is that ore is going to end up getting heavy after a while, Yeah. So,
and I think all these things are connected into some degree, right? So number one, I think if you're somebody that's looking at a Mini 14, you're probably somebody that's got 3 or 4 ARs. You're probably somebody that's got several other firearms. And so if that's the case, then you probably have one of those set up with an LPVO. You probably have one of those set up with a red dot and a flip-to-side magnifier, right? And so, and that's, I think that's the other element where we probably just have generations colliding. We have mindsets colliding, and there's not a transparent enough discussion about like that reality where I do think that the last 20 years of probably content has been probably more combat focused just due to the nature of the global war on terrorism.
Yep.
And the people that came out of that, and then now what you see is a generation that from my perspective is more focused on competition and the practicality of competition shooting. And so that's going to drive their preferences on how you grip a rifle, how you accessorize a rifle, whether it's an LPVO or it's a foregrip or it's whatever it is, right? And so, because you're right, like but if you were to make like LPVOs, you don't need an LPVO to engage a 70-meter target or a 700-yard, whatever that is in combat. But in combat, you do have the difference of, target acquisition, positive intent, and things like that, where in a competition you don't.
Right.
And so, there's something to be said for that magnification has a practical function beyond just engagement.
Yep.
That is not really taken into consideration within competition.
It's a good point.
And so it all starts with like, what's the current zeitgeist? What's the current lens that we are looking through to evaluate the practicality of the setup? And I do think we're at a transitional period where it has been kind of driven by vet bros.
Yeah.
And it's transitioning to USPSA. It's transitioning, and it's not, it has been transitioning for a long time, but it's much more competition driven, which is changing the de facto loadout. And, some people I think are struggling with that concept. And you see that in the conversations like the vertical foregrip conversation.
Yep. And it's also interesting too, is when you start talking to vets who, because, we're both vets.
Yep.
We've both deployed. How many deployments did you have?
I did 3 in Iraq.
Three in Iraq. So you've never been to Afghanistan?
Never.
So I've been to Afghanistan. I've done 2, 3 overseas rotations, but one was Korea, and then Afghanistan, or Korea in 02, Iraq 03, Afghanistan 10-11. And I see it from a completely different lens because you talk to a lot of guys who served in Iraq, and for the most part, a lot of it was urban areas, built up areas. Not everybody, but I would say probably, 60%, 70% were in built up areas. Obviously with Ramadi and Fallujah, you've got a lot of Marines that were kicking doors in and stuff like that. So there was a lot of CQB stuff going on. Transition to Afghanistan, that mindset went right out the window. It was, how can I shoot to the next mountaintop? At least in my area. And I was in the southwest in Helmand province, and it was a desert down there, legit desert. Not very many built-up areas. Most of the towns and villages were very, very small. One of the CPs that I had to go to with the Brits and with the Estonians, we traveled with the Brits. It was only large enough for a Chinook to land and take off. So even the mentality of people who went to Afghanistan and went to Iraq are even different, which is really interesting. And again, we could spend 2 hours just talking about that type of stuff.
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that with people that rotated in and they had come from recently an Afghanistan deployment and like really immediately struggled with the TTPs of Iraq. So, but yeah, you're right. And but like I said, that it translates into the firearm space, and like I said, it's shifting away. Obviously, there's a new generation of gun enthusiasts, which number one, like I'm incredibly excited about. It's incredibly important for the firearms community. It's incredibly important for our country, and it's incredibly important for the Second Amendment that we continue to replenish, like a robust, enthusiastic, and disciplined group of people that understand the importance of firearms, understand the importance to the framing and the founding of our country when it comes to that and the proficiency of it. And I think that these competitive sports are a good and appropriate extension of that, and the skills that you see in competitive shooting are like incredible.
Yeah.
And so like I see it as a very positive thing, but I also see both sides when there's conflict or there's disagreement in terms of like what's the best setup.
Yeah.
Both can be right depending on what you're doing.
From what you've seen and or experienced, how do you feel about the discussion? I want to say discussion. I don't want to say argument, but the discussion between the people who are like, oh, competition is just going to cause bad habits. Competition isn't combat. And that type of I'd be interested because I've been talking with another buddy of mine, and he and I would say agree about 80% of the time when it comes to that argument. But I'd like to see your perspective of it.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know, but I've seen a lot of that engagement online about competition creating bad habits. I mean, I guess it depends on what your habits are, and when I look at practical shooting and functional shooting in competition, I see it being directly. I see it being very practical, and I see it directly relatable. One of the experiences that I had in Iraq was it's always faster to switch to your secondary than it is to reload. And I transitioned to my pistol and had my pistol out, and by the time I had a second to realize that had even happened, I had realized that it had happened, and that was training.
Yeah.
And so I guess my answer would be that I don't intrinsically think that is going to build bad habits. If you are training yourself to functionally and rapidly deploy your weapon and accurately put rounds on target, I don't see how that could not be practical in combat, even if you're not doing it in quote-unquote combat training.
Yep.
And I think anybody that's been in the military understands that a lot of these very competitive, like people that are placing and winning competitions, are practicing so much more than your average soldier. Or your average probably law enforcement officer, unless they are going outside of the duties of their job and doing it on their own time.
I'm it's refreshing to see, like in the local pistol matches that I go to, or even the 2-gun matches that I go to, more and more law enforcement and military are showing up. I would say on the pistol competitions, at least a third to a half of guys who are there are either military or law enforcement, which I think is really, really cool. Now, we're not talking huge numbers here. We're talking typically anywhere between 12 to 20 guys, so, maybe 5, 6 guys are military or law enforcement, but I still think that that's really, really cool because when I was in, I didn't know anything about competition shooting. The only competition shooting that I had even heard about was like 22 long rifle bullseye shooting with pistols. And that's just something that my dad talked about because anytime I wanted to go to the range, my dad's like, "Oh, we can't go because they've got pistol competitions going."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What is that about?" So, but my point is, I think that there's a lot of people who see these very high level competition shooters that has all of the magazines like set up a certain way and they're all angled certain ways so they can get that they can enhance their reloads by that 1/100th or a tenth of a second, and they automatically equate those people with everybody. And from my experience, I have set my rigs up to be more tactically minded. I've set my rigs up to be more competitively minded. I have just stuffed magazines in my pockets. And at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you're getting those reps in of getting that red dot or your iron sights or whatever on target and getting those good control pairs or, just rounds on target as quickly as you possibly can, and then go down and look at your target and say, "Oh, these 2 rounds are right on top of each other. Let me go back and look at the video and see what I was doing. These 2 were like pretty far apart. What happened there?" And you go back through and you just mentally dissect what was going on as you were navigating the course of fire. I think that is the most important aspect of it. And people just want to freaking argue about shit,
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, that's always an aspect of online discourse. And, again, the other aspect is, again, like I'm just a guy. And I was, I'm incredibly proud of what I did in the military. And more importantly, I'm incredibly proud to serve with the people that I served with. And it was an honor to do so. But there's by no means was I an operator, and no means, and so not to diminish what I did, but to separate from, again, like a line unit versus like an actual kinetic unit where that is what they train to do every single day to go operate missions like what was conducted in Venezuela, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I am almost certain if you look at their kit, there are things that have been adopted that probably draw back to competitive shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so, if you look at the basic standard loadout of a soldier, there is just realities of that is laid out and organized to mass fit hundreds of thousands of soldiers with kit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got elite units that have a completely different purchasing avenue, a completely different training regiment,
mm-hmm.
and you're going to see that be much more customized and things like that. So there is a big divergence in what those things are and how they get how that gets employed, and you see that in the Ukrainian conflict, the realities of keeping troops equipped,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is definitely. It's evolved over the years, and it'll continue to evolve. And again, I think that what you're going to get out of it is the, Macho Man Randy Savage said it the best: the cream rises to the top. Like if it works, it works, right?
Yeah.
Like that stuff's the stuff that really does work. And I think that's probably the difference in why people probably get. That's probably why it gets contentious sometimes. It's just because of, sometimes the ultimate implications when you're training for combat,
mm-hmm.
The consequences compared to competitive shooting.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, there's your proof in the pudding. If you see guys that have adopted techniques, equipment from competitive shooting, and they're employing it in combat operations, and that's all the proof you need.
Yeah,
that there's some practicality and reality that it is effective. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's those are some great points that Jeff Gerwich even talked about on our episode with him and how they started kind of implementing competitive shooting into some of their testing and their drills and stuff like that. Now, not to say that they were going out there and competing every weekend or anything like that, but they would pull certain types of drills or types of stages for them to get that muscle memory, So anyway,
yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty interesting discussion. It gets pretty tiring because, everybody wants to defend their camp, and they feel that their way is the right way. And I'm the type of person, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care if you have a foregrip, like a CAC broom handle on your rifle, or just a hand stop. I don't care. I really don't. Just be the most proficient shooter that you possibly can. Get out, get to the range, go to a competition, experience those things, find ways to find your gaps and improve upon and stuff like that. That's all I care about. If you want to run an AK instead of an AR or like a Bren 2, or even shoot a Daewoo K2, man, those are starting to come back too, know? So,
yeah, and I think that what it is, and you'll see, again, I think some of the best educators, the best trainers, the best coaches, the best teachers will delineate pretty quickly, like what is really important to focus on. And it isn't necessarily that you have to have the exact same perfect grip that everybody else has.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have the grip that's repeatable and comfortable and practical for you. But the further that you get outside of the norm, the less likely that that's actually going to be correct, and you're going to be able to achieve that unless there's something unique about you.
Yeah.
But then it also just depends on your experience level. If you've got somebody like me who's got years of military experience and muscle memory of using something the way that it is, like what's the reality of deprogramming myself from that, and then to what benefit?
Mm-hmm.
And then so like for the vertical foregrip stuff, like I can completely see where doesn't bother me. Suddenly here is a competitive shooting obstacle.
Yeah.
That it's like, man, this thing is in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish it was not there.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I don't know, I don't know who makes them. I can't think of the name of the company now. KDG, Connecticut Development Group. They make cool little M-Lock QD, like little quick release.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Things,
mm-hmm.
So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're not jumping on this opportunity to be like, here's a quick release foregrip, do both.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, but yeah, so like I said, and anyway, I think I out of all the crazy discussions and all the insanity that people could be discussing and getting into, I think it's just hilarious that is one of the ones that stuck around for as long as it was.
Yeah.
Was the foregrip conversation. So I think it's funny.
And it's still going.
I know, it's great. I love it. I think it's really funny. That's like I said, the LPVOs and like I said, I don't know. I'm an LCAN guy. Let's get back to. I want more options of like, just like. Go to the optometrist is like option A or option B.
Yeah.
Does number 1 look better or number 2?
Exactly.
Like, I don't need a 1 to 8. I need a 1 and an 8.
Yes.
Just give me like the throw lever, go 1 to 8.
Yep.
So I would love more optics options within that spectrum.
Absolutely. Me too. I had an LCAN. It was pretty beat up, but glass was really clear. In that 1 power reticle, the 4 power reticle. I mean, they were a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think with some of the modern manufacturing techniques, you can overcome some of the field of view stuff. You can overcome the weight of those things. I think the company can make a really rad new version of those.
Yeah, I think so too. And you probably could find a company that could not only produce a LCAN style optic that is going to be pretty robust, but at the same time, a lot smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine if there was a way to create a 1/6 power. To be frankly honest with you, 6 power is, in my opinion only, 6 power is plenty for, unless you're trying to dial in a rifle to see if you can shoot like quarter size, groups and stuff like that, which most people can't. Even I'm not that good, but for the most part, 6 power is going to be plenty good. But create an Elcan style optic that has the footprint of like one of the Primary Arms micro prism optics, those real small, ACOG style optics. That would be really cool. Could you imagine?
I've thought about you just get a 3 and a 6, and you could just do flip beside on both.
Yeah,
and you just flip whichever one you don't want to use at that moment.
Yeah.
Decide and figure out how to make the eye relief work.
Yeah,
I'm not beyond trying some stupid stuff like that. Sometimes, I've got that Bryn that's got the Jeff Gerwin. I've got the instead of having your 45-degree cant red dot, I've got the 3X.
3X
at the 45, and it works pretty good.
Well, I've got this thermal optic, and it came with a 45-degree mount for it. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, why can't that be a thing? Now, for a lot of people, they're like, well, that's kind of pointless because you're utilizing a thermal specifically for target acquisition at night, right? So there's no point in even putting that on a 45-degree angle mount if your other optic is like a red dot. Well, what is the red dot going to do? But my thought is, I've been out hunting a lot. I normally bow hunt, but there have been a number of situations where I'm just sitting around, just kind of looking out at this field or whatever I'm at, and I look away for what seems to be just a moment, just a second, and look back over, and boom, there's a freaking doe, like right in a spot I was just looking at. And it wasn't like that doe just showed up out of nowhere. It was probably there the entire time, and I just didn't see it. But if I had that thermal and was panning across, I might be able to see it. Just food for thought.
I again, not to keep pulling it back to the glory days, but I did a tour as a dog handler, and that really made me challenge my conventions on my kit because I had to handle a dog, and so I had to look at different ways to manage my equipment. And so one of the things that I experimented with for a while was a PVS 14 mounted on my rifle.
Yeah.
So that I could use it for different spotting and different elements. And ultimately I kind of, moved away from that. But I think my idea was kind of similar to what, you were talking about, which was just a different, just experimenting with different ways to keep your situational awareness up and have it available at different times.
Yeah.
Ultimately, obviously, having head-mounted night vision and the government pay for it was great.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, it was excellent. But no, I mean, that makes sense to me.
And it's something that I want to try. I don't even know if it's viable, but it would be kind of cool if I started that trend. Because I'm narcissistic or something, but if I started the trend of utilizing a small thermal at a 45, much like the whole magnified optic on a 45.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot of people who are still doing that or still buy into that. I can see its benefits because realistically, just like we mentioned, I mean, most engagements are 70 yards or in. Red dot should be able to cover it. But there are going to be occasions where, yeah, you might have to stretch out a little bit further, and a little bit of magnification might help, you know? So,
yeah.
That'd be fun.
Food for thought for a future podcast or future idea for us to go explore.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Temu Future Warrior Systems setup and how capable and inexpensive some of these FPV drone camera systems have become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like you could mount one of those cameras behind your optic and use the heads-up display that you would use to fly the drone to be able to look through that and have a first-person view through your optic. Kind of like we've seen through some of those programs that they've tried to do to like allow people to shoot around corners and see through things. And it's like that technology that used to be unobtainium and, you know, $100,000 programs, you know, per soldier is a couple $100 in equipment. Now it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Duck Nods just talked about that rifle that would shoot around corners. And apparently the Germans did that in World War II. They started it first. I don't know if you saw that reel or not.
No, I haven't. I'll check it out.
It's hilarious because they what they essentially did was they took the STG 44s and they curved the barrel and used them to basically allow the German soldier to be in a trench and then arc the barrel over the top of the trench, and then they had some type of optic that allowed them to look up, and then it would then deflect their, it's like, I don't know, like a periscope, you know, right? And so that they could shoot, you know,
with a curved barrel.
Yeah, with a curved barrel.
Oh, that's interesting. I think there was a Demolition Ranch video about that, about curved barrels. But so apparently it works. That's crazy.
They got it to work. I don't know how many of those rifles were actually fielded.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a thing in 44, you know, so
yeah.
That's actually pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
So, what else do you have on your notes over there?
Well, we talked about the Mini 14s, which kind of leads into, because like I said, I mentioned that the Mini 14s kind of bleed over into that retro rifle category, and I know that you've done some cool retro rifle builds, and I know that you're putting together some stuff there. So I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, man, I got this one right here. It's almost ready. I'm just waiting on the buttstock.
Yeah.
Sarco has it's in the mail. Checks in the mail. But as soon as that comes in, because I ended up buying a used A2 stock for this, and the reason why I wanted to use an used A2 stock is because the handguards on that upper is they're not beat up or anything, but you can tell that they've got some age to it. So I wanted to have something that had a little bit more age to it as well.
And the A2s are a little longer than the A1s, right?
Surprisingly, it doesn't seem like this, but it's only 5/8 of an inch longer.
Really? It feels different. Like when I pick up something that has an A1, I immediately know.
Yeah.
It just by you can tell it's shorter just by the way that it sits in your shoulder.
But apparently, and I may be wrong, but I was, when researching this new retro rifle that I have, that I'm in love with this thing. And I never thought that I would ever be so over the moon on this type of AR. But Small Arms Solutions has a 7-part series going over every single different variation of AR-15 that Colt ever produced. And in there, he mentions the difference in length of pull between the A1 and A2 buttstocks. And again, if I remember correctly, it was 5/8 of an inch difference.
Well, that's good, because it's my greatest fear is to be like, I can tell the difference. And then it's like, there's no difference, you idiot. But yeah, no, that's still, yeah. I mean, like I said, that's cool. That was one of the things. So we were also exchanging some messages about So I'm a big fan of like iteration in words, and so my topic is cloner correct or Turkish trash. So when we talk about retro rifles, one of the things I'm a little conflicted about is obviously the market has responded to this high demand for retro rifles.
Yes.
By creating new retro rifles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of conflicted because for me personally, in terms of the market, I'm super excited because like if somebody wants to get their hands on something that's unobtainium,
yeah,
and like, you know, I have that DPMS kitty cat,
yeah,
right? And for me, that's cool because like I was never going to go try to find like whatever the original one would have been or whatever that is, right? But for other things, like your rifle you're talking about, like what makes it cool is its provenance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. And so it like nothing against like the new carry handles, you know, or something like that. But like what makes that thing cool is the fact of what it actually is versus going and getting a new H&R. Or,
yeah, exactly. Know. Yeah. And you know, so I have a Colt 733 quote unquote heat build, right? For those of you who don't know what I'm saying is the ARs that were used in the bank heist scene of Heat that Val Kilmer and De Niro used, those were Colt 733 rifles. H&R has clones of them, and they're cool. But if someone handed me a legit 733, which I don't think exists, and then handed me an H&R, both of them would be really cool. Okay, yeah, cool. But I would spend more time oodling over all the intricacies of the OG than the new one.
Yeah,
right.
And that's and like I said, depending on the firearm, it just depends upon how unobtainium they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so for certain things, it's like if they're available and the cost difference isn't astronomical, then I don't understand the market quite as much. You know, like I'm in constant pursuit of an SG 552 or an SG 553 Swiss rifle, right? And just recently, sadly, watched 2 gunbroker auctions go for $10,000 each.
Was it?
Yeah, both of them. They both went on auction on the same day from the same place, which I thought was dumb on their part. Like, why have them both start and end basically at the same time?
Right.
But both of them almost went for $10,000 each.
That's crazy.
And so, you know,
and we've talked about this already before. What was the buy now price?
Well, there was another one.
Oh, was that
was another
different one? Oh,
there was another one that just popped up, and somebody had a buy now price for just like basically 4.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 553 and 300 whisper, and I should have broken my phone screen pushing the buy now button. And I was like, oh, I need to like look into that and make sure it looks like it is what it is. And then later that evening, it was obviously gone.
Well, I thought there was some that there was buy now price of like I don't know, like 4,000, and then it like doubled in price through the bidding.
Oh yeah, there are some of those. Yeah,
yeah.
The 2 that I were watching were penny auctions, and they went up to 10,000. So,
wow,
and there are other that the buy now price is 12,000. The cheapest one on Gunbroker right now is just under 5. And the reason that it's just under 5 is because it requires a law letter because it's a machine gun. So that's what's funny about these is the cheapest versions are machine guns because there's no market for them. So, you know, and so what I'll do is I will be happy that I have a SIG 5.56. You know, I'll have the American cloner version that costs $1,200 to $1,500.
Right. And it's like one of the newest rifles that H&R has is their like 601. And 601s are cool, but obviously the OGs are even cooler. But how much are you going to spend trying to pull one of those together? Case in point is I am pulling together a Colt rifle from 1984 because I found the upper on itself for a like once in a lifetime deal. There's no way I was ever going to find this deal ever again. I'm saving some of it for the video that should hopefully be out in the next couple of weeks. But, and I don't want to give too much away. However, so I spent like $500 on the upper. This upper receiver is so, I don't want to say rare, but it's so far outside of the norm that the people that I went to ask, hey, what is this? They struggled to try to pull it together. And then I ended up having to do a little bit more research, found out some more information, and had to correct them. Well, in all of that mix-up, they recommended me to buy a certain lower receiver, which I did, spend $1,000 on it, and then come to find out technically it's a correct lower receiver, but it's from the wrong era.
It's not the most correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. It is a quote-unquote Sporter 2, but it's not the correct Sporter 2. So then I had to go and find another Sporter 2 lower receiver, and I found it, and I had to spend another freaking $685 on it. So now I'm into this rifle for we'll call it $2,000. I'm still way ahead on street value for it, but I have a lower receiver I don't have any use for now, and would like to unload it, but I don't know. It seems like the market right now is just, unless you have the thing, the market's just really not hitting.
Unless you have the thing, or you just happen to have the thing that one or two people really want. But I mean, like I said, when we talk about cloner rifles, I think that's the other aspect that's fun about getting the legit original stuff is some of it is kind of the chase, and it's the getting the pieces and the parts, and I got this thing here and I found this thing here, and putting it all together, and taking some of those parts and creating something that's better than what they are together. Yeah. And you don't get that, when you go to psa.com and you just click buy now.
Right.
But at the same time, like the other thing that we talked about that just dropped is, I don't remember who makes it or who's importing them, but, there's that new Turkish Spaz 12.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are trading hands about $10,000 to $12,000. And how badly do you want a shotgun that is not particularly reliable, is going to be an incredible nightmare to find parts for?
It's interesting you say that. Because Joe from Firearm Freedom, shout out to Joe if you're listening, man. You and Mary need to get back on this. You need to get back on the spot, the podcasting. I'm telling you, man. Anyway, give him a hard time about it. He just did a video about the Spaz 12. And he's like, hey, I get it. You guys, I hear it all the time. These things are unreliable, blah, blah, blah. And then he dissects the reasons why they're unreliable. And if you change this one small part, because most of the Spaz 12s have this part that has deteriorated because it's a old nylon buffer or something like that. And it dries out, it cracks, and it no longer operates the way it's supposed to. You swap that out, fixes the entire problem. Yep. Zero reliability issues with Joe's Spaz 12.
Yeah.
And it goes back into that whole internet lore of, oh, these are crap. So now everybody thinks they're crap.
Yeah. Well, and that's everybody thinks they're crap, but again, it gets into, I just said it right, but never held one, never shot one, never owned one, probably never will own one. Unless I really want to prioritize it. But again, that's one where, do I want to have a Turkish one? Probably what it would be is get a Turkish one, and then if I was really interested in having one, get a Turkish one, and then that's kind of like my test. And then be like, okay, yeah, I really do want a real one now, or get a Turkish one and be like, I had my fun.
Yeah,
I don't want a Turkish one after I don't want a real one after this. But like at $12,000, there's even if that's a number that you could say, yeah, I have the money to spend on something like that, the opportunity cost. With my luck, I'd get a Spaz 12, and then it's like, hey, here's that Swiss rifle you've always wanted right there. And it's like, I just bought a Spaz 12, and so. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and so it's cool that those things exist. It's cool that there's a market for those, and that stuff is coming out. And it really is kind of like it's a game of, you're never ever going to see one of these in real life anyway. So why not have a modern clone to be able to experience it versus some of them? I feel like you just get the real thing.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely true on some of that. I have little interest of a SPAS 12. I never really took to them. And to be frankly honest with you, in my head, I confuse it with a shotgun that's actually in my safe right now, which is a Bullpup Mossberg 500. I'll have to show it to you. I don't think I've ever shown it to you.
I've not seen it.
This is my dad's shotgun, and he picked it up, and I have no idea why he picked it up, but I kind of feel like I need to do a video on it, just to do a video on it, because it's one of those things that most people don't really know about. And if they do know about it, it's been like buried so deep into their mind because it's from like 1982, 1984, 5, something like that, that most people have probably forgot about it, you know. And it'd probably be a lot of fun, you know, just put on a freaking Hawaiian shirt and do some like Miami Vice.
If I did know about it, I black holed that memory. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that needs to come out of the cobwebs and see, because yeah, like I said, we're in the golden age of firearms now, where like all those things are possible. But I had no idea that there was like a period of time where Mossberg may have been like the Kel-Tec of the 80s. So
yeah, really. Yeah. And it's funny because the all of the polymer components almost feel like Kel-Tec's polymer, you know. I'll have to show it to you I have to dig it out.
We'll have to go through the LinkedIn profiles of some of the people at Kel-Tec. There might be some connective tissue there. Where did you work in the 80s? Where were you? What were you doing? I see that. Mossberg on your resume. It all makes sense now.
Yeah. But it is interesting that, and I know people really trash on Turkish guns. Really, really trash them. But Matt from Wyoming Gun Project, he's actually a fan. I'm not going to say he's a huge fan, but he's a fan of the TSOS 1911s. And he's a 1911 snob. Like he will take a Colt 1911 and he will nitpick every little thing about it. And people think in their heads, most people will think, oh, a Colt 1911 is kind of like top tier, you know? And I'm not talking just like the standard like officers 1911. I'm talking some of their high-end competition style 1911s that, you know, have all these different quote unquote features, and they've been hand polished and hand fitted and all that type of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. And then Matt will go through and he's like, well, look at the you know, there's no memory bump on the grip safety, and the grip safety doesn't engage until about 3/4 of the way in. So, you know, those are issues and stuff like that. And he's been extremely beneficial for me to better understand what does a good 1911 look like, you know? So,
well, and I mean, the Turkish, it's one of those things, again, I think one of the things that the common thread through everything we've talked about here is you always have to be careful about how broadly you paint with your brush.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you look no further than Honda, Toyota, and now look at brands like Kia and Hyundai, where those were they were looked down upon, and now like they went from, oh, we have to actually compete with these brands to these guys are eating our lunch in terms of American manufacturing.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and so there's certainly plenty of examples of Turkish firearms that have earned that reputation. But like I said, my first handgun was a Walther, and man, if Canik didn't just take those blueprints and talked about clones.
Oh, yeah.
If they didn't just clone those firearms and build some really compelling firearms.
Yeah.
And I'll also tell you that the Mac series of firearms, the Mac clones for the MP5s, I mean, I don't know why you'd spend the money. For me, again, we talk about like at what point should you buy the more expensive one or get the cheaper thing. To me, like I'd get a Mac, and then you'd really have to explain why, if you're going to spend any more money than that, why wouldn't you just get an HK? Like, why would I get a Century? Why would I get a PTR? What's the delta there, you know? And maybe I could be convinced, but in my experience, those Macs are pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Especially for what they cost. And I was never really interested in the MP5 clones because, yeah, they're cheaper, but are they enough cheaper for me and what I like and what I'm into to not get an SP5?
Yeah.
And then those Macs came out, and it's like when they first came out and there was a chance to get some of those at under $1,000, and it's like, well, let me check this thing out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I get some, not a lot, but I get a little bit of grief about my Zenith MP5 clone, right? The ZF5. I love it. It's done everything I've asked it to do. It has been, let me think here. It has been, I would say, 95% reliable. And the only reason why I've had any issues is because of either, I was shooting some pretty cheap hollow points through it, like Winchester silver tips or something like, I don't know, I'm not sure what they're called, but cheap hollow points that probably don't have a really good angle on the bullet to feed. So I don't know if that's ammo related, I don't know if whatever. And then the other bit of it is just the FRT that I have in it, you know?
Yeah.
I've had some I haven't had any issues with the FRT, nor have I had issues with the FRT and the ZF5. But I will say that you have to understand how to pull the trigger. Because, like, for me, semi-automatic like rifles, it's a light pull, and you want to get back to that reset. And so when I was teaching Nan how to shoot the Zenith with the FRT, I just kept on explaining to her. I was like, look, this is not a normal firearm. It's like a freaking bull ride. Freaking, when that gate opens, you just got to hold on. And that's exactly what you're doing with this trigger. You pull the trigger, you pin it back, and you just hold on for the ride. And it took her, man, I want to say it probably took us 4, maybe 5 magazines before she finally got it. But she has never experienced any full autos.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of made sense when she's used to Walther PDP triggers. Yep. And now a Kimber, you know? So.
Yeah. So, but like I said, it's I just, man, we're in the golden age of firearms right now, whether we realize it or not, and FRTs, I think, are an extension of that.
You know,
so.
It's another great point, and that's something that James Yeager said, rest his soul. He said, like, way back in, I want to say like 2017 or 2018, he was always like, this is the golden age right now. These days that we're living, what are we talking, like freaking 8 years ago now, are the golden age. And at that time, he was correct, because ammo prices were stupid cheap. You know, you could get 5.56 for 25 cents a round, 22 cents a round, depending on what type of ammo. 9mm was less than 20 cents a round. I mean, just stupid cheap ammunition. You could buy pretty much any type of firearm for a pretty decent, price. ARs were just in the basement as far as price goes, which they still are now.
Yeah.
AKs were still very attainable, you know. And yes, we still see some of that today, and there is a bit of a resurgence too, which I think is also one of the reasons why maybe retro guns, not necessarily retro guns, but maybe some of the really cool LEO trade-ins are so popular right now, like the M14, is because they're cheap.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and the LEO trade-in ARs, and they're, like I said, they're duty rifles, especially the Colts, and you see some of the Daniels that are on there that go quick. And,
you saw last Friday, right?
Yeah.
I missed that, and I'm kind of kicking myself. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Defense. their rifles. I've got a Mark 12 upper, and it's okay, but
I mean, when they're $800,
yeah, was it 800? Was it $899?
I think so.
$899. It was a Daniel Defense DDM4 V1. But the cool thing about it was they had the A2 sight with the handguard that went around it, like the block 1, block 2.
Yeah, so right. I mean, like I said, it's hitting those right. It's like brings us back to the retro rifles.
Oh
like
yeah,
So,
oh man, super cool. And then you've got some of the other LEO trade-ins from. Who would have ever thought that the assault weapon ban ARs would be cool, which is what my Bushmaster is.
Yeah.
It's a ban era AR that has the restricted stamp on the right side, which that in itself is pretty cool in itself, but it's from the assault weapons ban era, and it's like one of the coolest ARs I have.
I think about that. Like I've thought about that with some of the B&T drama where they listed out like, here's the cutoff for serial numbers we'll support.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of want to go seek out one of those ones that has the serial numbers they won't support.
Right.
And it's like, in 10 years, it's like, man, these are the cool ones.
Yeah.
Like, these are like the shunned, like, black sheep B&Ts that nobody wanted at the time. And now these are the cool ones, you know? So now you'll never, that's what's cool about cool stuff is it's always hard to predict when you're in the moment.
Yeah.
And it also is always usually, it's like anything. It's predicated on, this is just the reality of it, right? Is like when you're younger and you can't afford stuff, you get older and you can afford the stuff, and the stuff you want to be able to buy now is the stuff you thought that was cool when you're younger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why this retro stuff is cool. That's the reason why muscle cars are cool. That's the reason why, and so every generation has whatever that is, whatever that version of that is, or whatever was cool in pop culture at the time when the movies that you watched, the video games that you played. And that's the basis for almost all these things that we're talking about.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I wanted to go back to the beginning of the podcast because you said that your first rifle was a Bushmaster, and we've talked about this before, but if I remember, you don't have that rifle anymore.
That's one of, outside of my recent, again, trying to rehabilitate myself and let go of some things, outside of very, very recently, that was one of the only firearms that ever sold, and that was just purely, again, I talked about firearms are a store of value. At the time, that was one of the only things that we owned that was worth anything, and the clutch went out on the wife's car.
Yeah.
And that was literally the only thing of value that we owned. And so actually, I sold it to my company commander to be able to afford a new clutch for my car. And so I have found his Facebook profile and thought about messaging him and being like, hey,
you should,
you still
man. Got
that thing?
You should.
You still got
just to see if he still has it.
I can't imagine he does. But yeah. It had the most obnoxious three-port Y compensated brake on it that would just smack you in the face with a concussion when you shot it without a good cheek well. So I thought it was a training aid to make sure that you had the proper alignment on the rifle. But
was it flat top or carry handle?
It was carry handle.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pre-ban. It was like I said, it because at that time there weren't really a lot of AR options. I mean, you were either buying a Bushmaster, which again at that time that was pre a lot of the legal and the things that kind of took down Bushmaster at the time, and then led to I think the negative Bushmaster's name is a lot different than it was at that time. At that time Bushmaster was maybe not held in the same regard as Colt, but there weren't really that many brands of AR-15s to buy.
Yeah.
At that time.
Well, and Bushmaster was doing things that Colt wouldn't do. So like when Colt started producing their M16A2s or their AR-15A2s, which is their M16A2 clones, they were not cloning them correct. So they still had like slab sides, or they had like SP1 upper receivers, but still had the A2 barrels, which was really, really weird. And Bushmaster was like, these people want a true to spec, lower receiver, and upper receiver that match for an A2 or an M4 or whatever the case may be. So that's one of the ways that Bushmaster started gaining a lot of popularity in the late 80s and early 90s, is because they were doing what people were asking Colt to do. And why Colt wouldn't do that? I don't understand. I don't understand their mentality.
I don't know. I may still even have the receipt from when I bought it.
Wow.
I hold on. Like I said, I hold on to that kind of stuff. I may have to look. I may have to look, because thinking back on it, it's kind of funny. Thinking back on it, I remember because it had an M16. It had an M16 stock, and I bought online. And at that time, that was like, it was wild that I bought it online. Looking back at it, it was wild that I bought it online. I think it was Tapco was the company that made Tapco make AR furniture. I don't know. This is going
they
back.
did.
I don't want to know how many years ago this was. I bought, like I bought a collapsible buttstock for it from Tapco. But yeah, that was, like I said, that was, again, it was back then. It's like, okay, I need a pistol and I need a rifle. And those were my two choices at that time. Like I said, the Walther P99 was like, just kind of like, it was brand new when I was came of age to be able to buy a pistol. And it was between that and maybe a Glock or maybe something else.
Yeah.
But I was, a couple of the guys that I ran with were like, you really need to check out these new Walthers. They're really cool. For whatever reason, the decocker was like a really big selling point. I couldn't ever articulate it to you exactly, but
it's a button.
It's a button. It's a button that makes the little red thing in the back go away that lets you know it's not cocked anymore.
Yeah.
And then you got a longer travel.
Yeah.
Pull on it. You got to actually cock it when you pull the trigger. So.
I mean, guys love pushing buttons, you know, which is why Eugene Stoner hated the idea of the A2 rear sight, is because the dial to adjust windage was so easy to manipulate, unlike the A1 sight. He really liked the A1 sight. And he was like, yeah, man, freaking a GI in the field, he's going to get nervous. He's going to have nervous hands. He's going to have to, do something with his hands. He's going to turn that sight. He's going to lose his battle zero. It's like,
yeah.
Okay. I never did that ever. So,
well, I mean, that goes back to, right, you talk about, we're talking about, is this rifle sub MOA?
I know,
and like the guy designing the rifle is like, soldiers are too dumb and fidgety to be trusted with adjusting their battle sight.
Yeah. The funny thing though is the one thing that I always played with on my rifle was the forward assist. Constantly pushing that, because it's a button.
It's a button. Yeah.
You got a button, you got to push it, Yeah. So, and it just got to a point where, especially when I was in Iraq, because in Iraq, we did not have very good supply chain. So, things like CLP, it was hard to come by. In any time that we had CLP, tank got it first, Our firearms didn't get it first. So I feel so bad for these M4s that we had on our tank, because we ended up having to use WD-40 to clean our weapons. That's all.
I don't like, maybe we wouldn't go down this rabbit hole, but like we got our CLP in like the little travel size toothbrush like things.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I just have this mental picture of like how you're applying that to a tank from like those little tiny squeeze bottles. I don't know. Again, I wasn't a tanker, so I don't have any reference point for that, but that cracks me up. That's funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
the CLP that we got came in what volume? Quart size cans.
Yeah.
And then we had spray bottles.
Oh yeah, I think I saw some of those. Yeah, we had had some spray bottles and stuff like that. So
most of the time you would see like the spray bottles with like the Mod Deuces.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We experiment a little bit with the Mod Deuces. We had Mark 19s, and we had GMD, so grease molybdenum disulfide, like one of those acronyms that'll never leave my brain. Hopefully I said that correct. But it's like purple, like almost like a lithium grease. I don't know. It's not lithium. It's molybdenum. But and we experimented with like graphite, like some like dry lubricants and stuff like that. But you were talking about Stoner being worried about people messing with that. Like, it's still a modern problem. The new FN. I can't remember off the top of my head right now if it's the new SCAR or if it's FN's new battle rifle that's like the kind of bastard child between a SCAR and an AR. I don't remember what they call it, but it's like it kind of has it. But one of the two or both maybe even have an adjustable gas block.
Oh yeah,
but it doesn't do anything.
Oh
we talked about this. We did talk about So it's still and the reason why is because they were worried that soldiers were going to change it and then it wouldn't feed, So like they wouldn't be able to understand what the correct position to put it was in for the correct environment. But they wanted to have the capability to leave that option available in the future. So it has an adjustable gas block that you can adjust. It's just the same setting because they don't trust soldiers to put it on the right setting. So that's still a modern problem in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It really is. Especially like with this, this will sound really bad. And if anybody is listening, I'm sorry. I don't mean it like this, but this younger generation, with all their fidget spinners and
maybe just hopefully there's like a desire to understand why and how things work. Like a curiosity is what we need to continue to see in the generations. So so it's funny. I mean, that's always, I don't know. It's an interesting. When you're building things for soldiers, it's an interesting requirement.
Yeah. We mentioned Keltec a little bit ago, and they just released their new PCC. I don't remember what they call it. It's like a...
I remember the acronym, or not the acronym, but I remember the nickname. It's the Nub Sub. So at least the marketing team, I'll tell you what, if nothing else, the marketing team gets all of the glory from this, if nothing else. So between the teaser video, the full release video, it seems like everybody's been incredibly happy about the way that it was marketed, which you don't really see that in the modern day. Usually that's the first team that gets thrown under the bus. So between the nickname of the Nub Sub and then the way that they released it in the video, I think they hit that out of the park.
Yep, they did. And I'm trying to go through this to see what the official name of it was. Trying to see if they have the actual name of it here. Nope. Let me.
It's the Sub SDP, but I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know what that stands for.
Well, let's learn more. It says right here, learn more. Sure enough, the Sub SDP, Nub Sub, distills the iconic folding carbine platform into pistol form. So obviously P is pistol. Delivering the most compact configuration the Sub 2000 has ever taken, an integrated pistol brace transforms shootability with sacrificing the platform's signature compactness. So I don't know. It doesn't give any definition for that acronym. So I don't know. We'll have to
continue to find out.
But the question then becomes, why?
Yeah,
that's always the question.
Yeah. Well,
do you think that this is Keltec's cocaine-laden answer to the Flux Raider?
So I didn't draw that parallel from all the marks. So just as much as I just sang the praises of the marketing team, I didn't draw that parallel until I actually went to the website, because what we saw in the original marketing video and the original release was just a chopped up stubby Sub 2000.
Yeah.
Not to undersell it. And but then when I did go to the website, I did see a variant that had that spare mag, not a vertical foregrip.
Yes, the sub SDP Defender.
Yeah, the SDBD Defender. Yeah, so and then it's like, oh yeah, this looks a lot like a Flux Raider. Plus all of the other who have popped up out of nowhere, other clones of the Flux Raider that I can't even name the manufacturers of, but I see popping up all over the place. So I'm sure that is an element of it. I mean, obviously, what is the point? The point is to make money. The point is to drip, right? The point is to drip new products out at some frequency to continue to generate, and to do so from a product line, from a minimalistic amount of additional supply, additional amount of machining, additional amount of whatever, injection molding. If you're Kel-Tec, I assume it's injection molding. It may just be people are standing on molds. I'm not really sure. But I think it's cool. I'm a Kel-Tec fan, so right away I'm interested. I honestly, in some ways, when I saw it was trying to be a Flux Freighter, I'm almost like, oh. Because honestly, that's one where sometimes being first to the party is not good. And the Flux Raider definitely was not. But the Flux Raider definitely was the first to the party that really, I think, hit it correct. I really do think that the Flux Raider got a ton of stuff right, outside of maybe being primarily based on the 320.
Yeah.
I think that is it's Achilles' heel that it didn't see coming.
Right.
And I have not found any other variants particularly compelling.
Yeah, which and I don't understand. I honestly cannot, for the life of me, understand how Flux has not taken the RXM and done something with it,
or Magpul for that matter, because of their relationship with Ruger.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Magpul could easily pull something together.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, if PSA can do it, to the chagrin of Flux, because I guess that was apparently at SHOT Show this year, that was quite the thing to see when all of the dudes from Flux came over to PSA and was like, WTH. Yeah. I wish I could have been there for that.
Yeah.
But
you know what's funny? I forgot all about that thing.
Oh yeah,
whatever they call it. I don't even know what they call it. Has that actually been released?
No.
Well, welcome to the PSA life.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's going to be released.
I mean, that's it. Like I said, I think that's and to bring it back to Kel-Tec again, I think that's one of the strengths of Kel-Tec is, give them a hard time for all the right reasons, but their manufacturing process and their manufacturing materials and the design process allows them to do these types of things that for a larger companies just don't make financial sense. And that's probably the reason that you do not see Magpul doing this. That's the reason that you do not see PSA bringing these things to market more quickly, is because the manufacturing resources and processes and machinery and setup and tooling and all these things. This is not my background. I do not know about these things, but it is substantial. And so unless, again, you're dredging the beaches of Florida for waste plastic, and, whatever else they're doing over there at Kel-Tec to produce firearms from, they drudge cars that fall off the coast of Cuba or whatever and steal the metal off of them to build their frames. I don't know what they're doing over there, but they obviously, can build these firearms, and they build cool little weird things, and they pull them off, and other companies don't. And my experience with Kel-Tec has been incredibly positive. And generally speaking, what I've found is that a lot of people talk about the reliability of them and they don't work and things like that. And I think what you sacrifice, and this is generally speaking, I think for most firearm companies, outside of the really bad ones, usually what you're giving up is Q&A.
Yeah.
And so if you get a good one, you probably got a good one.
Yeah.
And if you get a bad one, it's bad.
Yeah.
Get it back to them, and they'll get it back to you. and hopefully it doesn't take twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
But I've had pretty good luck with Kel-Tec stuff.
Yep. I've had one positive experience and one negative experience. Positive is the RDB. It's great.
It's great. I think it's a great.
I think
it's a great bullpup. Period.
I think it is one of the best bullpups, and I caveat with the exception of it is the best obtainable bullpup that's on the market today, because it is insanely cheap. I mean, I was able to get mine for $600, new $600. It was insanely reliable, more so than what I already thought it was going to be. It had adjustable gas. It shot suppressed very, very well.
Yeah, not just adjustable gas, but it's like 11 or 13 settings adjustable gas.
Yes. You don't have to worry about, shooting it left-handed and having brass hit you in the face because it ejects down. Yep. And then the 308 version ejects forward.
Yep. Yeah, the
which
RFB.
is really, that's really cool. The only complaint that I've ever seen anyone ever have on a good one, because I do admit that there's probably bad ones out there. There's probably a lot of them. But on the good ones that are functioning well, the only complaint that I've ever seen anyone ever have is the quote-unquote pencil barrel.
Yeah.
And GT made that comment in his video that was about 3 or 4 months after my first video, and all of a sudden I got this influx of comments about, oh, these are cool, but I would never get one because of the pencil barrel. And I'm like, what, because Mike said it?
Yeah. I mean, how many but people don't understand. There's so many other firearms that have pencil profile barrels.
Yeah.
And I think the only other thing that, if you've never really shot one is, if you've lived in a dorm or if you've lived in a barracks, you understand what like a collapsible curtain rod is.
Yeah.
That has a compressible spring.
Yeah.
Take one of those next to your head and just sit there and close it and open it and close it and open it. The recoil spring on that thing's kind of wild and really loud, and when you shoot it, it's kind of crazy to shoot. It's a weird, unless you've experienced one, you don't know what I'm talking about, and it has nothing to do with shooting it. But no, they're cool. They're rad. Kel-Tec stuff's rad. And this thing is, I don't know where I saw it on Instagram, but about almost a month ago, whenever they first released their first little teaser, wherever I first saw the thing, somebody in the comments was like, sub 2000 SBR in the comments.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. And I guess they knew something.
Yep.
I don't know. Like I said, we'll have to see. I'll have to see one in person.
You know what it was? I just now realized it, because you said this last Friday when we were talking about it. So Ducky, he and I, we talk almost every day. Not every day, but almost every day. He had a picture, a redacted picture that I think Kel-Tec released several weeks ago. And Ducky posted it and was like, what could it be?
That may have been it.
It was probably it. And someone probably looked at it and was like, they had the foresight or the ability to think outside of the box, where they're like, oh, that looks just like my sub 2000, just shorter.
Just chopped. Yeah, it could have been a guess. Yeah. And like I said, it's cool. Like I said, we'll have to see. They'll be out. They'll be the street price. That's the cool thing about Kel-Tec stuff too, is they're not expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think the one thing that's weird about those is, it does look like the buffer tube and the buffer system is different than on the sub 2000, to where it's shorter or collapsible or something that's interesting.
Yeah.
The brace looks like it's probably proprietary because of that. Mm-hmm. And then that begs the question of if you do want to SBR and you want to put a stock, are they going to have one of those available?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to have to find one of your favorite 3D printers to 3D print an insert or something? I don't know. I don't know. it's interesting. It's not like a home run compelling thing. The fact that they're going to be so relatively inexpensive is, hopefully just going to mean that they're going to sell plenty to make it worthwhile to them, and they can continue to go do cool, rad stuff. And maybe the next one will be even more like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I
like the fact that, and this is probably almost standard at this point, but they released it with a threaded barrel.
Yeah.
And I know that everybody's going to want to suppress it, and as they should, as they absolutely should. So I appreciate that they had at least they read the room well enough to know, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think that's absolutely right, which is, hey, let's take advantage of the change in the laws, or the change in the interpretation or the enforcement of the laws, or whatever, however you want to talk about it, and to take advantage of pistols / SBRs, and then suppression. So yeah, like I said, and for them, again, from a business sense standpoint, there's going to be parts commonality between something they already manufacture. So again, they don't have to spin up a bunch of stuff, and hopefully the path to profitability for them is fast, so they can continue to go on and build cool, rad stuff.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why they're not going to be able to continue that. Like I said, the negative experience I had was with their, what are they, the PR57 or whatever it is?
Yeah, the stuff and things. Are you talking about or are you talking about
no.
You're talking about the rotating barrel.
It's the clip fed.
Yeah, the rotating barrel pistol.
Yeah. It won't extract a single round that I put through it, and I was able to talk to them at SHOT Show about it, and I was like, hey, I've got this thing. And I knew what I was getting into when I bought it.
Yeah.
Because it was stupid cheap, man. It was like $350.
Yeah. So actually, I just talked to a guy. Somebody just knows, like, you're the Kel-Tec guy. I'm interested in one of these. And I said, like, hey, like, been okay with mine. Got less than 500 rounds through it. It's cool. It's rad. It shoots 5.7. So if you're worried about price and you're actually going to go shoot the thing, like, you're going to go shoot its cost in ammo pretty fast.
Yeah. So
don't worry about the cost if you're actually going to go shoot it. Same disclaimer I just gave. If it doesn't work, send it back immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, they're what? They're like $350, $380.
Something
and they're
like
like,
that,
no, they're $450 now.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like, everything's more.
Yeah. Well, and even at $450,
exactly. And I think these things, I think the nub subs, I think they're going to street at 6 maybe. And if that's true,
I don't know. What does sub 2000 go for?
I think they street at 5.
Okay. I mean, it's still reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, if it's $600, don't get the one. Don't get the one with the optic.
Yeah.
I think the optics on those things are like first generation Vortex. Like they're
like Crossfires. Or
yeah.
whatever.
Like there's the cheap optics have come a million miles beyond that. Like this is Vortex. This is somebody trying to dump subpar optics out of their inventory.
Yeah,
I like the idea of what Kel-Tec's doing, which is like, hey, let's get you a turnkey. It has everything on it for a reasonable price. But I think that optic is probably not worth owning.
No. I mean, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter to me. But like in comparison to your P365 Raider,
yeah,
like what was like ballpark? What was the price on that?
Like again, freaking safe Queen Gary syndrome here. So I picked up, because they've come down in price a lot. So like we'll just go through the history of me making bad financial decisions. So I bought a Ruger. So let's stay on 5.7. I bought a Ruger 5.7 when they were $750. Like now they MSRP for $550.
Yeah.
I bought the Flux, the 365 Flux Raider aluminum chassis from Flux when they were $800 for just the chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they maybe were $550 or $6 maybe for the aluminum one, and now they make a polymer one that maybe is $5. I don't even know. Like I don't want to go look. Don't do me like that. Don't make me go look. And then I already had I'll just chalk up the fact that I already had a 365 to free.
Yeah.
And just ignore the fact that I actually bought it at some point. But like whatever a 365 goes for, $600.
Yeah.
So I was $1,500 before an optic. And now, man, those aluminum 365 fluctuators, like they are really, really nice. Like they're machined incredibly well. The anodizing on them or whatever the coating on those things are impeccable. They're great. It's good. It's really nice. And then the polymer ones, I have the full size 321 as well. That's, I think I paid $550 for the chassis. I paid $6 for the 320. I was an idiot on that front too. I foolishly, I found an okay deal on a M17.
Yeah.
And did not realize that, the manual safety fire control group doesn't fit into the chassis. So I just needed not a big deal. I needed an $11 manual safety delete pin or something. So I put that in there. Not a big deal. So, but then I needed a threaded barrel, and it was because I don't remember what it is on the M17s. They have a witness. There's something else. Suddenly because of that, I needed to get a specific barrel, which caused it to be a more expensive barrel. So learn from my mistakes. Honestly, if you want a fluctuator, the ones that SIG sells, if that's your thing, I understand. If it's not, if you've abandoned SIG because of all the stuff they did, I do not blame you. But if you want a fluctuator, the ones that SIG sell directly, especially because of everything going on with SIG, you can probably find one of those used for $1,200.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it if you really want one of those.
Yeah.
But back to the nub sub for $400 or $600, that's pretty cool.
I think so.
Yeah, it's cool.
Especially if you just want to scratch that itch, with a quote unquote backpack gun or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation that we probably could go and spend hours on talking about the differences between, what should a backpack gun be? Should it be a fluctuator? Should it be a sub gun like a MP5? Should it be a, one of those, I don't know, takedown 300 blackout ARs,
the right answer is a TP9. That is the correct answer.
Okay, brass facts.
A TP9 with multiple companies hopefully racing to a finish line here before the end of next month with an FRT solution for
goodness.
it. So
the cyclic rate on that thing is going to be
wild.
Insane.
It's wild.
Insane, man.
That is a correct answer.
I mean, so I've shot yours, and it is super cool. It's that trigger, man.
It's so bad.
That's the only, in my opinion, that's really the only negative that I have of it. Is just the trigger.
It's cool, and like I said, that's the reason why an FRT is going to be transformative for that platform.
My question is, because of the way that trigger is set up, we all know that subguns are meant to be shot in a burst or full auto fashion. Is that trigger designed as a progressive trigger, or is it just full auto?
From what I understand, the original MP9s were not progressive. It was just it's just a 2-position, and it was just a long. I believe it is probably just a function of a couple of things. One is the military contract pistol, and you get what you get, and that's it. And the second is it's probably a measure of safety.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's there's when, well, you don't know, you don't really know when it's going to go off, because you're is it going to happen yet? I've been
here's the wall.
Yeah,
here's the wall. No.
Are you sure the safety's not on? Because I don't, I haven't experienced a trigger pull of 16
very
pounds
first
before.
That first time I ever shot it, I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. So, but it is something that, like I said, once you shoot it enough, you get past it, get used to it. And it is horrible. It is one of the things that in a world of hyperbole, and that it is one of the things that 1,000% lives up to how bad people say that it is.
Yeah.
Is the trigger on on a TP9, but like I said, FRTs will be cool. The two that are out there that have not been released yet but are imminently inbound are both apparently 2-position. One, I just found out, requires an entirely new top cover, which is not a deal breaker but weird. And the other, and not the one that I'm interested in, partially because the other company, I have another one of theirs for a different B&T, and I'm incredibly happy with it.
Yeah.
And so I'll wait for theirs to come out. And they've said that technically there's nothing stopping from making a 3-position one, but they just want to do more testing and evaluation. And so anyway, but yeah, so that stuff's cool and it's rad. And but dimensionally, all these firearms are like going to be weirdly, incredibly, very, very similar. A TP9 is dimensionally almost identical to a Flux Raider, like a full-size 320 Flux Raider. Like their footprint is weirdly almost identical. Yeah. And so it's probably going to be very similar to the Kel-Tec. It'll be weird. The Kel-Tec's going to be bigger. The Kel-Tec's going to be heavier. The Kel-Tec's going to be clunkier. And we'll see. What'll be interesting is, because it looks like the buttstock brace thing kind of collapses, the foldy bit may almost become a novelty. Like, how much do you really get out of that because the barrel is so short?
Yeah. And then once you add a suppressor to it,
that might be then why to fold it.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
So
yeah.
But anyway, like I said, it'll be one of those things where,
and again, it'll be a third of the cost of a TP9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the trigger will be better.
Yeah,
I almost guarantee it.
Maybe.
Almost. No. I guarantee the trigger will be better. So.
I mean, I suppose so, because the RD Beach trigger, which is a RDB again, is a bullpup. Bullpups are notorious for having quote unquote bad triggers. RDB wasn't that bad.
Pretty solid. Yeah, and I've got a sub 2000 and the trigger's fine.
Yeah, okay.
And it takes clock mags.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like I said, they didn't talk about it, but they make sub 2000s that take clock mags, take MMP mags.
Yeah, I think this is showing these look to be,
I bet you it's
Magpul.
I bet you. And so, like I said,
mags.
Last time I looked, they made a variant that takes 19 mags. They made a variant that takes 17 mags. I don't know if they still distinguish between those two, because you could get one with a little bit shorter grip. And so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this like takes 19 mags, like to keep the grip shorter. Like some of those to keep it more compact. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, they'll get out into the wild and check one out. They're cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to or not.
Yeah, like I said, I can't commit. I can't commit to getting one. When like that pistol that you talked about, the PR57, the second that they showed that thing, I was like, I'm getting one.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, that one immediately spoke to me. And this one didn't as much. So we'll see. But like you said, the fact that it's got a threaded barrel, that's immediate. Like, if it makes sense to suppress, which is 90% of firearms as far as I'm concerned, like, I want to shoot it suppressed. So that's a box that's nice to have ticked. So
So all right, well, that's gonna pretty much cover it for this time. We blew right past our 90-minute mark, which is completely normal. But naturally, we hand it over to the guests for the quote-unquote final 30 seconds. Whatever folksy wisdom you want to pass on to the masses that are listening.
Oh, man, I think I was a little better prepared last time. I'm completely unprepared for it this time. So, folksy wisdom here. I would say we'll give it out to operate as often as you can with a baseline of principles and return to those principles. So, we were talking about earlier, some of these, watching Netflix for like these legal things with like the Idaho thing. And like we're talking about that. And it just makes me think about like the law and like why laws exist, and like they exist because of like the worst circumstances. They exist because like when things are the hardest or things are the worst, and so they don't exist when things are going good. And so, you know, I think about that in my life sometimes, where I try to like, what are the principles of why I'm doing this thing, and that way if something gets hard, I return to those principles, and it kind of helps me keep straight and narrow when things get hard. And so there's some folksy wisdom that kind of helps me, and I think about that in aspects of my life. I think about that in aspects of my work, and sometimes it's for things that are kind of trivial, and sometimes it's things that are really big in my life. But it's something that through my professional career, it's something that I've always kind of done to keep myself centered, is to kind of return to like what's the actual objective of what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's something that's really helped me when I've had questions about things, or if people come to me with questions about things. So
yeah, good. My little thing is I'll keep it quick. I'll keep it quick. Take care of your body. I've got a pinched nerve in my shoulder right now that is radiating pain through my neck. I have like tension headaches all the time now, and it sucks. And just take care of your body. I finally figured out that it is a pinched nerve and not like, there for a little bit I thought it was a heart attack, you know? It's like, oh, this is bad. So just take care of yourself. If you need to see a doc, go see a doc. You're in pain because your body's telling you you're doing something wrong. So, but
that's better than my advice. Father time comes for us all.
Yeah.
There's something that you cannot tell younger people. The younger version of me would have never listened to that, and I do not know how to tell the younger version of me that, but you are so right.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, thanks, guys, for swinging by and checking things out. We really do appreciate it again. A huge thank you to XS Sites for being our title sponsor. And if you guys are interested in saving some money, again, we get no kickbacks on any time you guys use this code. It's just a thank you. Use code LARP at checkout for 20% off. Again, we do appreciate their support, and more importantly, we appreciate your support. You guys keep on coming back and listening. Thanks again so much. Don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. Bye, y'all.